Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Insider's Guide to Project Cars 2, where today we are going to be taking a look at the new LMP1 2016 cars that were released with the Spirit of Le Mans DLC pack that was just released last week for all platforms with Project Cars 2. So if you haven't got it already, it's definitely worth checking out, as these LMP1 2016 cars are very, very cool, and we're going to be taking quite a bit more of an in-depth look into the hybrid systems of each of the individual cars, and we'll also take a look at the hybrid systems of the previous LMP1 cars, basically giving a bit of a summary of those, and then the push-to-pass system of the IndyCar, and then the KERS system of the Formula A and Formula X. Now, before we go into basically the in-depth look of each of the different cars, if you go over into the options controls section under the edit assignments and then the vehicle tab, make sure that you have a button assigned to the KERS option here that will allow you to use the KERS systems, the push to pass systems, and then also the hybrid system on the brand new LMP1 2016 car. Now, or should I say cars. Now, the previous LMP1 cars that we had in the base, that came with the base game, not part of any DLCs or anything like that. These LMP1 cars here, so the RWD P30, the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro from 2014, the Marek RP339H, and the Toyota TSO 40 hybrid. All their hybrid systems were basically controlled by the throttle in terms of the hybrid deployment. If you use more than 90% throttle application, it will basically start deploying the hybrid charge, providing that you've got charge available or you haven't used your laps allocation. And basically it will continue to deploy it until either A, you run out of hybrid charge in the battery, or you basically come off and dip below 90% throttle application. With the regen for these cars, it's simply just done under braking, and they each have their own different kind of regeneration levels. Basically, some cars deploy the energy much quicker and more aggressively, such as the Toyota here, that basically does really short, powerful bursts, whereas like the RWDP30 is much longer, kind of a slow leak of boost that lasts much longer, but it's also weaker as well. And then they have their individual regen rates. So the Toyota is much better at grabbing that energy back, because obviously it deploys it in a different way, whereas the RWD is a little bit slower in its regen hybrid recovery. So there's a bit of differences between the different cars within the class. Now, we won't come on to the LMP1 2016 cars just yet. We'll come back to those in a second. Let's go to the Indy cars and talk about those. So they have a simple push-to-pass system. Basically, you press the KERS button once and that will give you a horsepower boost for a certain period of time. I believe it's like 10 to 15 seconds. Basically, that horsepower boost will last and drain over that time, and basically it should give you the opportunity to try and push and basically try to attack and overtake someone, or likewise you can use it in defense, and you get 10 push to pass shots per race, no matter how long the race is, whether it's 3 laps or whether it's 300 laps. You only get 10 shots, so use it wisely. I believe you may be able to use it in practice. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you definitely can't use it in qualifying. Now, 2 other cars, the Formula X and then the Formula A, these both have pretty simple KERS systems, to be honest. Basically, you press and hold the KERS button to deploy the KERS energy, providing that you've got charge and you haven't used your full laps allocation, and then you'll stop using KERS once you release that button, and you'll regenerate the KERS energy under braking. That's relatively simple and quite easy to understand. Now let's go to the LMP1 2016 cars, which is the main focus for this episode, and talk about the various different cars and the different hybrid systems, because they work slightly differently for each of the different cars. So we've got 3 cars here, essentially. We've got the Porsche 919 Hybrid, we've got a Toyota TSO 50, and then we've got the Audi R18, but we've got it in 2 configurations. We've got the low downforce Le Mans configuration, and then the high downforce Fuji configuration that you can see here. And let's actually talk about these 2 first and kind of explain why we've got 2 different versions. So partly due to licensing, but also basically the two versions were quite significant in terms of their performance. So obviously the high downforce version is obviously very, very good for standard circuits. And then the low downforce Le Mans version is, funnily enough, good for Le Mans tracks like Monza and any other circuits where basically having a low downforce setup is going to be beneficial. Now, with these two different versions here, there's no differences other than basically the aesthetics and then the wing angles that you can select in the car's setup. Basically, the wing angles that were available for the Audi R18 are basically split in half and then shared between the two cars. So the Le Mans version basically has the wing angles from 0 to 5 or 6, I believe, in the car's setup, and then the Fuji version, the high downforce version, basically has from 5 or 6, basically wherever that cutoff point was, up to the maximum wing angles. So the aesthetics and those wing angles are the only differences there. You can see when I flick between the two, there's a difference in top speed. That's mainly because of basically the lower downforce wing angles will allow you to reach the higher top speed of 343 kilometers per hour, whereas the minimum wing angle for the Fuji version will only allow you to get up to 326 kilometers per hour. But obviously with that added downforce, you're going to have much more grip and you're going to be able to carry much higher apex speeds through the corners than the Le Mans version. So pick one of the two Audi R18s, depending on the actual circuit layout. Basically, any track that is basically low downforce, quite long straights, such as Monza or Le Mans, pick the Le Mans version. Any of the other normal, more standard circuits, it's probably more beneficial to run the Fuji version with that higher downforce, but obviously then pick and choose your wing angles depending on the track and what's suited and all that kind of thing. So let's talk now actually about the various different hybrid systems. So we'll start off with the Audi R18, and basically it's got a diesel engine in the car. It produces quite a lot of horsepower. It's got 520 horsepower, and because of that you basically have a hybrid allocation of 6 megajoules per lap. Now the hybrid system is deployed to the front wheels only and is recharged from the front wheels only as well. Now, if we come over to the Porsche 919 hybrid, as you can see, it's got 500 horsepower this time, 20 less than the Audi R18, but it gets a 8 megajoule per lap hybrid allocation. So you get a two extra megajoules per lap of hybrid boost over the Audi R18 to basically make up for that 20 horsepower deficit. Now again, in basically exactly the same way as the Audi, the hybrid system or hybrid energy is deployed to the front wheels and the regen is done from the front wheels. However, the Porsche 919 hybrid also gets the added benefit of recharging hybrid boost from wasted gas and energy from the turbo system. So even when you're full throttle going down the straights and you're not using the hybrid boost, you'll be getting a slow trickle recharge of hybrid energy. Now, if we come over to the Toyota TS050 and talk about the hybrid system here, once again we've got 500 horsepower from the main combustion engine, so again 20 less than the Audi R18, but just like the Porsche 919 hybrid, you also get 8 megajoules of hybrid allocation per lap. However, the hybrid system here is both deployed to the front and also the rear wheels of the car, so it drives all four wheels when using the hybrid energy. And then under braking, the hybrid energy is regened from both the front and also the rear brakes. So under braking, it will actually regen a little bit more than both the 919 hybrid and also the Audi R18, so it has that little bit of an advantage there. But the Porsche 919 has kind of the advantage of basically getting the regen from both the brakes and then also from the wasted energy from the turbocharger. So generally what you'll tend to find is that you actually get quite a lot of available boost with the 919 hybrid. And then the Audi R18 has basically the horsepower from the main combustion engine, the diesel engine that the car uses, and basically has the power there, but obviously has the only 6 megajoules that it is allowed to use on a per lap basis. Now obviously With those, you need to be a little bit careful as to when you're using the hybrid energy. One of the things with the Porsche 919 is that because there is so much hybrid boost on tap and available to you quite a lot of the time around the circuit, it is very, very easy to start using too much and actually run out of your 8 megajoule lap allocation early before you finish the end of the lap. With the Audi and also the Porsche, also the Toyota, sorry, it's a little bit more difficult. Obviously, with the Audi, you've got less anyway. You've got the only 6 megajoules in comparison to 8 megajoules compared to the other two. And basically, with that, you need to be a little bit more careful and manage when you're using the hybrid a little bit more as well. And then the Toyota, you can generally be quite aggressive with the hybrid system here. However, it can be a little bit difficult to basically get as much charge as you want. There's a couple of tricks and stuff that we can talk about later on in the episode, but generally you kind of have to push and be a bit more aggressive with the hybrid system when it comes to the Toyota in order to basically make up the time to the other two cars. Now, generally for the hybrid boost deployment, the best way to use it is for accelerating and propelling the car up to the higher speeds. So coming out of slow corners and basically using the hybrid energy up to the point that either it runs out or you reach the speed of about 260 to 270 kilometers per hour, which is around the region of 165 miles per hour. Whichever comes first, either reaching those speeds or you run out of basically the hybrid energy, use it for accelerating the car coming out of the slower corners rather than using it for the top speed. That is mainly in race situations. That's probably generally the best way to use it. Obviously, in not all straights you're going to be able to reach those speeds, so accelerate up to the point that you are basically prepare yourself for the next braking zone, where obviously it's a manual deployment. You get to choose when and where you want to use the hybrid boost with these LMP1 2016 cars. You may need to do a little bit of trial and error in practice sessions beforehand to basically find out where are the best places to use that hybrid energy, and then basically plan and work out your own little kind of your boost strategy for each lap. Now obviously you can use it to attack and defend other cars a little bit more as well. So if you're coming up behind someone, you're kind of struggling to get past them, what it may be doing is using a little bit less coming out of one or two corners. Try and build up a little bit more hybrid energy first, and then on a bigger straight basically having and using a bigger shot of the hybrid energy to kind of help accelerate and propel yourself past the car that you're trying to attack and gain the place from. Likewise with defending as well, you may want to save a little bit of hybrid energy for in a couple of strategic important places where you know that you could potentially be vulnerable to someone using hybrid on you, or them just generally using hybrid being in the position to try and make an overtaking maneuver. Save a little bit of hybrid energy there to try and accelerate and pull out a little bit more of a gap to help defend in those kind of situations. So some people in comments from previous videos have said obviously it's not quite 100% realistic to how it's done in real life and things like that, but it does give you a little bit more depth in terms of basically as a user when you want to use the hybrid deployment. It's all completely down to you. So people will be able to basically create their own boost plans and then run their own boost plans, which could vary from other people. Obviously there's going to be a little bit of meta across various different tracks, where generally there's going to be probably the best way or the quickest way to generally get a decent lap time. However, some people may deviate it kind of when strategy suits them, as it were. Likewise in qualifying as well, it could be better in basically like an out lap, or if you're doing back-to-back flying laps, to basically try and save some of the hybrid energy and basically use a little bit more coming onto the start-finish straight to begin your lap, and basically just trying to give yourself the best possible boost plan, as it were, and best possible start to your lap in that kind of sense, and use the hybrid energy a little bit differently there just for a single lap use than you would in comparison to a race. Now obviously with the deployment of the cars, where it's a little bit different, where the Toyota TS050 has the deployment going to all four wheels, at both the front and also the rear of the car, you can use it coming much sooner when coming out of the corners, and generally it's a lot easier to use the hybrid deployment and also turn at the same time, whereas with the Audi R18 and the Porsche 919, where the deployment comes purely goes to the front wheels, when you deploy that hybrid energy, all that power is going to the front wheels, so generally what you'll tend to find is that you get quite a lot of understeer when using the hybrid. So generally with those two cars, the 919 hybrid and also the Audi R18, it's generally better to set the car up in more of a straight line and get the car straighter before using the hybrid boost. So you may have to wait a little bit coming out of the corners before actually getting on the deployment, whereas the Toyota, you can use it much sooner. The Porsche 919 and the Audi R18 are much more of a kind of a point and squirt sort of application with the hybrid energy there. Now when it comes to regenerating the hybrid energy under braking, generally the faster you're going and the harder you get onto the brakes, the more hybrid energy you are going to recover. However, if you lock up the wheels under braking, you will get no hybrid energy regen from that. So you can brake really hard and you get lots of energy, but the moment you start locking up the wheels and the wheels stop rotating under braking, you'll stop regenerating energy. So you'll need to balance that, and obviously one way to combat that is actually reduce the brake pressure to a point where you can get really hard on the brakes, and basically with that you'll elongate the braking zone, so you'll be on the brakes for longer, which means that you have to get onto the brakes obviously sooner than you would with a higher brake pressure, but you're less likely to lock up the brakes, and then obviously with that you get a bit more hybrid regen in the braking zone, obviously providing that you're doing efficient braking application. As the speed basically drops, you'll get less regen in the hybrid energy. So generally at the start of the braking zone you'll get a lot more than you will once you start slowing down and bleeding off the speed in the braking zone and start easing off the brakes. You'll get a little bit less regen there, and then obviously the Porsche 919 has got the added benefit of having the regen from the turbo, the wasted energy from the turbo, so you get basically more hybrid boost on tap. But obviously with that you need to be more mindful about how you're using it, and obviously not using all of it at one go, because it is very easy to run into the full 8 megajoule allocation for the Porsche 919 hybrid, especially at Le Mans. Some of the other circuits in the game is going to be much easier to stay underneath those thresholds of the 6 megajoules for the Audi R18 and 8 megajoules for both the Porsche 919 and also the Toyota TS050. It'll be easier to basically stay under those per lap allocation of hybrid boost, and in some cases you probably may not ever get anywhere near that on a per lap basis, so you can basically just go full on aggression and be really aggressive with the hybrid deployment, obviously making sure that you're still getting enough hybrid energy basically restored at the right point, so you then got more boost to use in the right areas. Like I said, it'll be a little bit of trial and error as basically how much energy you'll be wanting to use in certain corners, how much you want to save, how much you can regen in the various different braking zones for various different corners on various different tracks, and then obviously saving that hybrid energy for the slightly longer straights and making sure that you're getting up to the 260 to 270 kilometers per hour, which is about 165 miles per hour, making sure you're basically hitting those thresholds ideally before you run out of your hybrid charge in the current hybrid charge that you have actually stored in your battery. So that is pretty much going to be the overview for these LMP1 2016 cars, and obviously we talked a little bit about the other cars as well. There's not too much that I kind of wanted to cover with those, it's mainly just focusing on these new LMP1 2016 cars that came with the Spirit of Le Mans pack. They're a hell of a lot of fun to drive, and obviously with that hybrid manual deployment, there's a lot more strategy. You feel a lot more involved with the car, and then obviously it's the 3 2016 LMP1 cars that completed in the World Endurance Championship 2016 season, fully licensed with 2 liveries for each of the cars as well, and it creates some great immersive racing and very realistic looking grids when you try and replicate basically the WEC grid and Le Mans, and with the LMP1 2016 class, and then the LMP2, and also the GTE cars as well. So hopefully this little guide has been informative for you. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. I shall try and get back to you as soon as possible. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for supporting the series. If you're enjoying the content, feel free to consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to give the video a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, then don't give it a like, or give it a thumbs down, or give me some constructive criticism in the comment section below. Likewise, share with your friends if you did find it informative and you think it will benefit them. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching the episode, guys. Hopefully I shall catch you in the next one, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves and have fun, and goodbye.